So hello again, I'm back and it's 8 o'clock. So hopefully I'll be able to see comments today. Oh, it's working a bit better. I don't know what happened earlier. Lots of glitchy tech. So I'm Trudy and I'm here to share the April energy reading. And just to put it into context, yes, we're all recording now. And just to put it into context, the energies that I share are for people who are awakening to a new spiritual experience right now. It doesn't mean that you're a healer or that you're already doing spiritual work. This is for a group of people who are awakening to their abilities, to something that's inside them that they didn't know or didn't recognize consciously that they were able to do some of this stuff, but it's becoming more, it kind of might have been like a little prick before, like a little push or a little niggle, but it's now becoming more loud and shouting at you to start doing something different with your abilities. So what I'm going to do is I share the energies every month, the Ascension energies, but focused on what purpose we all have as part of the cosmic plan, why we're all here at this time, what we're here to do. And if you were with me at 7 o'clock, then you would have seen that we did a short soul journey into our own individuality and to support us becoming more of the instinct of God so that we could start co-creating on this planet. So that's the kind of purpose that we're all aiming for. And to do this, it takes a lot of work because we have to work with our shadows. So once a month, usually the first Monday, but because of Easter, I missed a Monday. And the whole point is what I share each Monday is almost like a roadmap for you guys to have clues on what to work on next. So welcome, everyone. I've got a group of people that join me on Zoom. And we use Zoom because we stay on after this and we have a Q&A that's not broadcast. So welcome, everyone. Hopefully you've got a cup of tea and you can come and join us now. And thank you if you joined me for that soul journey earlier, as we all turned on our sunlight within and became the sun during the eclipse moments. And still, I can't see any comments on YouTube. So let me just get that up in a different way. Okay, now I've got it. So now I can see chat on YouTube as well. So if you are on YouTube, then drop me a message just to make sure I have got that working properly and say hello. And I think we've got everybody on Zoom, so we're ready to go. Excellent. Yep, nobody else waiting to come on. So cool. So this reading is for April, and the energies are actually quite calm. The biggest question that I asked, and I posted this everywhere, was really to do with control. And the question was, what would happen if you didn't try to control your future? So the kind of energy that we're going to be talking about today is allowing and surrender. So I don't know if you have an idea what those words mean to you, but if you tune in, what does allowing and surrendering mean to you? And I'll give an example a bit later on, but I just wanted you to think about those words now. So we tend to control our lives when we don't feel that we're able to, it's kind of like when we're not connected to source, and when we feel like we're on a lack, whether that be scarcity of money, scarcity of creativity, scarcity of resources, abilities to cope, anything like that, which is a lack, that's what's holding us back or makes us turn into control protocols instead. You know, that's when we start pulling out our perfectionism, our over planning, our overworking, our overcommitment of energy. When we start using all of those abilities, they are coming more from the willpower, which comes from the solar plexus and pushing us forward, as opposed to the heart, which is a much more free-flowing kind of energy, where you just know that you're doing the right thing at the right time in the right time frame. So that kind of gives you a flavor of what we're moving into. So we've just had the solar eclipse. The energy's been quite intense. In fact, it's probably left a lot of people feeling shook up even more than the January energies we've been working with. I feel like it doesn't seem to be that much more radical in April as it was in January. It's just been a slow progression of all of these energies coming on. But equally, I know that I'm a little bit ahead in sensing the energies so that by the time other people start noticing them and talking about them, I've already been working with them for a few months. So a lot of the energy we've been working with since January and in my membership and things has been preparing us to make this transit through this gateway of the solar eclipse more easy. So the theme for April is actually about infinite wisdom. And that was what I felt the solar eclipse was about as well. It was almost like when the sunlight was turned off, we were given the perfect circumstances for us to see that we are perfectly capable as humans to do a lot of things that we think we can't, and that all the things we need are actually within us. So we've heard that statement so many times, everything you need is within you. But during the eclipse, I think that I am presence of the Aries new moon was coming up as not just I am as an individual, but I am as in I am because I have the power to be. There was that extra kind of energy coming through as well. And a lot of this infinite wisdom comes from the heart. And I think all the heart upgrades that we've been having since January have been recalibrating the heart to allow it to open to more of this infinite wisdom. So if you could imagine the question I just asked, which is the preparation of what would you do if you didn't try and control your future? What answer would you have? Would it be, I would connect to infinite wisdom and allow that to guide me instead? So let me know how that sounds to you. Does that sound like a good alternative to controlling your future? So relief is coming through, which is surrendering. It's that kind of, oh, I can relax, which is very much the April energy. So one of the aspects we've been talking about is wisdom and knowledge in itself. We deal in a world that is really quite chaotic at the moment with lots of data, and it's up to us as individuals to compile it into information, knowledge, and then eventually with practice and with time, wisdom. Even with the spiritual knowledge, I get data and then I have to take it through the processes and work with it to turn it into wisdom. The difference is that when the mind is doing it, the mind is quite rigid and full of expectations, and it's also a little bit easy to seduce the mind. If you believed something today and I give you a fact sheet that proved the opposite, your mind would start faltering and going, oh, well, I thought I believed this, but now I'm not sure because this evidence document proves something different. The heart doesn't do that. The heart is its own divine truth. It sees beyond the illusion. It can't be so easily seduced. So this infinite wisdom is also related to another part of the reading, which is this cosmic ocean, this primordial pool of information that is bigger than the data that we see as humans on an everyday basis. It's almost like the codes of creation, that ability for a flower to grow. A flower doesn't go and read a book and say, oh, I must do these stages in order for me to become a perfect flower. It's instinctual to the flower to become that. And that's this cosmic infinite wisdom at work, working through a small flower. So again, if you didn't control your future, could you become like a flower? Maybe, I don't know why I'm seeing buttercups, but imagine becoming a buttercup growing for the first time without having that mind that we use as a human. It has no expectations. It has the knowledge for how to grow. And again, how does that feel? So I'm looking at the comments to see if anybody's chatting to the comments with me. I still don't see anything on YouTube. So if you guys are chatting, I'm not seeing anything there. So that theme of infinite wisdom is going to be what we're going to start seeing in April. So how can you connect more to this infinite wisdom? How can you make choices? Because we've just had the Libra full moon, and that was all about conscious choice. Doesn't matter what happens in your world, you can choose how you work with it and how you perceive it. And that also fits into this infinite wisdom, because only somebody that's divinely wise can see beyond the physicality of what's in front of them and be able to see things from a higher perspective. So yeah, relief and lighthearted we've got there. So let's go back to that question. So what would happen if you didn't try and control your future? So this kind of relates to last month when we talked about the past. If you can't make peace with your past, then you're not going to be able to create your future. So maybe the reason you can't feel comfortable about your future is because you're not comfortable about your past. And then the questions that have been coming up a lot just before this eclipse was, what if you're here trying to work out what you're supposed to be doing when actually, like the buttercup, you're already doing what you're supposed to be doing. It might not be what your conscious mind or what humanity or society says you should be doing, but what if you are doing exactly what you're meant to be doing? And one of the things I keep saying is make your mess your message. Your challenges are part of what you're here to do. And if we take that one step further, what if your great work, what is the main purpose of you being human and physical on this planet, is because you're here to transmute your challenges, your pain, your suffering into love? But not only are you doing this for you as a personal objective, what if when you do this, you're also doing it for the planet and for humanity? How would you then look at your life? So saying stop trying to force things, and yes, love that idea. More fulfilling. Because then it's not about what you do and how you do it and how quickly you do it. You're just doing it. Just like that buttercup, you're just being it and doing it. So the key here is that, again, take it like one step more into the God instinct part. What if every challenge that you overcome, that you learn to be able to see from a different perspective, what if every hardship you've been through has been a quantum leap on the ascension path for the earth? And some of the posts I've been making this last couple of weeks has all been about us recognizing the God spark within. And rather than calling on the angelic realm to come and support us, we should be trading our skills because we are just as powerful. It's just we don't remember it yet. And that's the infinite wisdom I want us to connect back to. So if we can connect more to that, then we can see that something about what we're doing is more magical than we could have perceived. Now, maybe the pain that we feel from it is more the way we process it, because again, conscious choice. If we lost something, we could feel a lot of pain for that. But if we knew we could make it back the next day, then you wouldn't have the pain. So it's about looking at things from a different perspective to see what looks more reality and what is more of an illusion. And again, you need infinite wisdom coming from the heart, not the mind. So this preparation then reminded me that last month we were talking about the void and transformation in Scorpio, which is the next full moon we'll be working on. And that energy of the full moon and Scorpio is that deep, stinging, fighting, resisting type energy to transformation. And last month, if you listen to the energy reading, we spoke about making friends with the void, learning to work with the darkness in a new way. And the Scorpio archetype in terms of esoteric astrology goes from Scorpio to an eagle to a phoenix. So Scorpio is the stinging fighting. The eagle is where you're starting now to recognize above and below. You raise up, you can see issues from a higher perspective, but you might still struggle with the physicality of it. You might still struggle with the physical pains. You still might get angry and frustrated. Then the phoenix is much more of a matter of fact. Yeah, I can just burn it all down because I can create it all again tomorrow. That burning it down will be the food for the next phase. But it's still an element of force with that burning down. So what came up last time was, well, can we take the leap, the quantum leap into moving out of the phoenix, even though that was a good energy up until now, and become the butterfly, who, a bit like the buttercup, grows, goes into the cocoon and comes out the other side without even contemplating that it's transforming. It doesn't go kicking and screaming. It doesn't fight against the cocoon. It doesn't scream once it's inside. It goes into its sleep. It comes out the other side naturally transformed. And I think that's, again, part of the infinite wisdom that we're connecting to and how we can become more butterfly. And I was on a talk recently. I don't know how I found this talk, but there was a bunch of indigenous tribe leaders from, I think, Hawaii, some Indian, I think, maybe some Mayan. And the interesting thing was, they as a society were persecuted, their land stolen, and a lot of trauma in their past. And the thing he said, as I was kind of listening to it in the background, was that they see that now. They all said that they see this now as it was necessary preparation for the ascension process. And that, again, kind of reminded me of the make your mess your message. So I'm not just sensing this myself. Other indigenous tribes are starting to recognize that. And they're recognizing it from quite a big traumatic kind of experience of an ancestral trauma, and they're starting to already see that. So the question we end then is, what if this was all preparation and that we don't let it define our future? And that was the transformation. And if we're transforming, we're never the same. So we can never create what we were, because it's always changing. So Jenny likes that, say more powerful. So the outlook, the goal that we want to try and achieve is we want to step into, and it was a crystal. It was aventurine was the crystal. And this aventurine is great for, I created a video that's out there somewhere. I don't know if you can see that. So this crystal is for heart expansion, to help through the heart expansion, to access more infinite wisdom. But it also, because a lot of us are newly awakening and newly opening our hearts for the first time, there's still that dark versus light battle going on. There's still a lot of illusion, trickery, manipulation. And we're still going to struggle with that. You know, we're still trying to find the true path, and the Libra true path, the solar line path down the center. We're going to face temptation. We're going to be knocked off. We're going to have inner critic voice telling us we can't be that, we can't be true. So we're going to be easily falling off. But aventurine is the crystal is going to help keep us true to our heart and keep us on that center path. And the main kind of focus of it is that decisive leadership, having the conviction of your decisions to stay on that solar line path, to keep walking it, even when sometimes it gets dark and you're not quite sure where you're going, to walk boldly into the unknown, because you know your heart is saying, yes, this is true, not because your mind or the surrounding information is telling you that. So this will help also with the emotional balance, because sometimes it's our emotions that knock us off center. And learning, I think the biggest thing when we came from spirit into the physical form, the biggest thing that we didn't expect and we didn't know how to handle was the emotional body of being human. And that's part of what the heart is expanding, to allow us to learn how to use that heart and to use our emotions to create, but also to transmute and to manage them in a more surrendering kind of way. So I'll ask again, you know, what does the word allowing and surrender mean to you now as we start speaking about these? Just checking for messages. So the main challenge we're going to have is believing this, because this is a completely different way of looking at the world. And I was thinking, I came from a background in computing, degrees, studying was the kind of the measure of my worth, I guess, my intellect. I got, being in an only female in a lot of male environments, it was my intellect that seemed to get me credit from the people around me. It's like, oh yes, you're intelligent, therefore, you know. And then when I got ME and I got brain fog, I kind of lost that ability to be intelligent. But I found this other infinite wisdom in my heart that was more vast and much bigger than I could ever imagine. So kind of my path led me to a different wisdom, I guess. And the point of that is that there's a lot of neurodiversity now coming onto the planet. We're seeing it more accepted. But I think it's always been there. I think we've never meant to have been a single-minded type creature. I think this neurodiversity is what allows us to step into this ability to step out of the mind and into the heart. And the challenge is going to be now believing that you are made in the most perfect form with the perfect set of tools, and your past and everything you've been through was all that preparation. Actually believing that is going to be the hardest bit. And the kind of vision that I got last night when I was tuning into the eclipse energies was, so the best way I could explain it was almost like a crime, that a crime has been committed, say something was stolen, and then there's this person who's really innocent and very perfect, but they don't feel it. So they keep trying to place themselves as the victim, as in, I did it, I stole this, it was my fault, you can blame me and you can beat me up, lock me up. And the police keep pushing them away, saying, no, it wasn't you, now go away. And they keep coming back going, but it was me, it was me. And that's kind of how we've been approaching our human existence. But it's the playing victim is what we keep wanting to be, when the spirit guides are there saying, no, actually, you are just like us. You can do what we do. Go, create Earth, go make changes, go and start those projects that are bubbling up inside you. Follow those niggles, follow your passions. And we kept going, no, we're a victim. We haven't got money. We haven't got, you know, and we keep very naturally wanting to go back to that. So this challenge was a crystal galactic dragon energy that was almost like blowing on us to kind of go, come on, get it on. It's not about what classrooms you learn in. It's not where you learn your wisdom anymore. Life is the lesson. Life is what you're here to learn from. Start tuning in, learn from the flowers, learn from the plants, learn from the trees, and let go of all your rigid thinking and just be open to new experiences, just like the innocence, purity of a child looking at the world for the first time. Allow yourself to push your boundaries into new levels of comfort. So you can see that how we've been living, and then this energy of April is probably opposites. I don't know about you guys, if you're seeing that, if you think about what you've been doing up till now and what I'm describing, how big a gap is there between those two things? And part of this challenge energy is that in order for us to step into this new wisdom, we have to break away from old things that we did. It might be people we hung out with, it might be jobs, it might be thoughts and beliefs that we thought we had, so that we can break it all apart so we can start having new ideas and new visions for the future. And that includes moving out of that pain pushing, where we think we need to be angry to motivate us, or we need to be like see an injustice before we step up. What about the buttercup? It doesn't grow up because it wants to prove to the world that it can be a buttercup. It just grows because it wants to. And that's, again, the allowing energy we want to move into. How does that sound to you guys? Just letting that sink in for a minute. When we did the meditation earlier, we kind of tapped into some of this infinite wisdom. That's what I was trying to create the space for you to connect to. Excellent. Yeah, so Judy's saying she's doing a lot more allowing and less controlling, and can only do this with the heart energy. Yeah, that's very much what we've been sensing too. So I'm glad you're saying that. That's great confirmation. And it's almost like, it's kind of like that, it's that, I've seen this picture on a meme that shows a cat in a cat box and the door is closed, but it has no lid. And the cat's staring at the closed door, like looking really sad that they can't get out. But if it just looks up, it could just jump out because there's no lid on it. There's no top. And it feels, again, that's kind of the energy I was getting last night. And the solar eclipse, soul vision that we did earlier on was us becoming the sun, us becoming the God spark, the instinct of God, the breath of God, and recognizing ourselves as these warriors that came to this earth to make a difference. And then actually stepping up and using those skills. So the strength that we have is the cosmic ocean. And we've had a lot of rain here in the UK. And it just feels like the Earth's waters have broken to be birthed into a new version of Earth. And there's been a lot of water in my work. A lot of my work started off very galactic, but now it's very much about the primordial energies too. Although I say that's new, but I found a text like from 5, 6 years ago, no more than that, 10 years ago. Randomly, I just found this text I sent somebody where I said, oh, you never believe it. I had to do something with primordial soup. How weird is that? So I've been there before. So it's not the first time it's tried to come into my awareness. But that primordial soup represents all the codes of creation in a form that humanity grew out of that primordial soup. And if you widen it to the kind of star nursery soup, there's kind of water in space that can be seen in the same context. Then we're talking about the energy that created planets and stars and the galaxies. So this ocean, this cosmic ocean of wisdom, is all found within the heart itself. So when we go into the heart, we can access all of our experiences, all the timelines, our past, our present, our future, the knowledge from parallel versions of ourselves, having different experiences. They're all inside the heart. And what we want to be able to do is to go into that heart center. And instead of going in with like, I want to fix this problem because I don't want this problem in my life, we want to be able to go into and sit, be that child and say, right, show me what next. Show me what you want me to do so I can learn and grow and expand. And it's almost like it wants us to go back before the confusion. And I don't know how to word that better, but do you remember a time before confusion? And the humanity, the way humanity's grown has brought on more confusion. But if we can go back to before confusion, what would we see? What would we feel? How would we manage our lives? And the interesting thing is, this is what's inside the water. This is what the structure of the water, the memories of the water holds. It's almost like a plasma, birthing plasma, like a new birth energy, but also it's in our DNA. And we just have to awaken those parts of us to change. We know that everything we say to ourselves changes our DNA. And they've seen our kind of behaviors and our habits change the DNA to cause physical changes in the next generation. So we can take control of that now and start reprogramming our DNA into this God spark. So next generation gets that energy to step into their divine selves as well. So I see this ocean, this cosmic ocean, as the blueprint of creation. And we all have that in our hearts. We actually all have our piece of it, at least, in the heart, which is why I suggested we came together as 7 to work together to see which pieces we all had to put together to create a new intention for New Earth. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're good. So the advice is quite simple. It's this sanctuary. And this is really about, it's not self-care. This is really recalibrating ourselves back to our divine blueprint. That's the kind of sanctuary. And it kind of feels like an initiation or I'm guessing Judy might know more about this than me, but it feels like this energy of going into a temple when people were being initiated into something, and the teachings of that temple would recalibrate them into their divine self. It's that kind of feeling of the sanctuary represents that kind of energy. So it's not necessarily staying home and not doing anything. It is more about, again, I guess that butterfly transformation. You're in the cocoon, and your cocoon now might have been actually for the last 20 years. It doesn't just mean we've been in a cocoon since 2020. This cocoon might have been the last 20 years. Or are you kind of now starting to feel the energy of coming out of that cocoon, that recalibration process now is coming to completion of this phase? Because I think this is going to be a phase that's going to go quite quickly. There's going to be a lot more of them. It's not going to be a single thing anymore. We're growing too quickly. Maybe each cocoon was one lifetime before, but now we could probably have multiples of these experiences in a lifetime. And what we're doing in this, and this is why I think temple comes to mind, is it's this kind of it's where you get to meet yourself. It's where you get to meet the divine part of you, the God spark, your God instinct. It's kind of in the silence and the quiet, you get to meet who you really are. So earlier on, when we did the meditation, I created an image of you guys standing with your feet on the ground and looking up at all the things that you call guides, spirit guides, angels, masters, beings from other planets, whatever. And then I asked you to imagine actually what you were looking at was a mirror, and you were looking at versions of yourself. It's that kind of energy that we're trying to tune into, but it's allowing, it's not doing anything with it. It's allowing that to become your reality. And that's where surrender comes in. You know, we have to surrender to the fact that everything has been exactly as it should be, that there's this intrinsic plan that has been happening as the buttercup was growing and growing its leaves and its petals. It knew there would be a point it would die and it would come back again the next year. It's really feeling into that within a sanctuary kind of setting. And then the final thing for the next steps is to really work on your shadows and your self-sabotaging. So anytime that you've enabled yourself to play small, that you've made decisions because it was safe instead of being expansive, anywhere where you try to control instead of flowing, we want to start now letting go of the reasons why you did this. And the energy for this is a crystal that is called, if I get this right, staurolite. And as you can see, it's a cross at the bottom here. And it's said that this crystal was formed from the tears of the fairies when Christ was crucified, which I thought was quite good. This has come up again now for Easter. So this is, again, allowing us to step back into our divine blueprint and using this crystal energy. And these are pictures on my Facebook. So you can go, and I invite people to put glasses of water onto it and then create a medicine and then drink it to help the energy shift. But we are really starting then to notice why we self-sabotage and dissolve it, whether it be depression, addiction, overworking, overcommitment of energy, playing small, whatever it is that has been the gates we've put up around ourselves. This fairy cross was meant to help relieve that and break them down and dissolve them so we could step into who we're meant to be. The final bit that came to me over Easter was that in January, we had this concept of the solarized spark, which is this kind of being the sun ourselves. We had this awakening of ancient DNA that was coming back from Atlantean times and Lemurian times to remind us how to walk this path differently, with a different wisdom and a different integration of the different parts of wisdom and the different realms that we pull our wisdom from. We also had this Christ consciousness, which is knowing that you are God. But I always feel that Christ consciousness has a little bit of suffering and martyrdom still in it. Maybe the shadows of what the church put around it now is still hanging on to it. So it's still not, for me, a very clean frequency. And what came to me was when I was thinking about Easter and the resurrection was when he rose up back into the light, was that the galactic light consciousness that he moved back into? After having his human experience, he rose back up into his galactic light. So that's kind of what we're playing with. And, each of us will have our different interpretations, but I just invite you to consider that as a possible way, because I'm still trying to work out what this galactic federation of light consciousness represents beyond what most people speak about it as the spaceships come to rescue us. Because I think we are here to save ourselves, that we are the saviors we've been waiting for. It's kind of like inside us, we just have to let it out and then we'll find everything we're looking for. But for me, the Galactic Federation of Light was this peace on Earth, this ability to co-create, this harmonious environment that really fits in with that Lemurian energy as well. So that's the energy for April. So infinite wisdom, allowing our heart to expand to allow us more access to a bigger range of wisdom, connecting to the fact that as we're becoming more neurodiverse, then we are going to be learning in new, different ways. And that process of learning is more about allowing and surrendering rather than trying to follow the linear path of learning. That we're moving into this energy of heart expansion from a decisive, choice-driven, choosing a soul-aligned version of our lives to walk, and that we don't need to control our future, that we can now start relaxing and accepting that everything that's happened up to now is perfect as it should be. So we're stepping into that advice of working on our self-sabotaging behaviors and making sure that we connect to the cosmic ocean and give ourselves space, like a sanctuary, to actually do this work this month. So if there's any questions, now's the time to ask, but I think that's most of it. Not too bad. I got it done a few minutes over this month. So I'll be back again on the first Monday of next month. And if any of you want to do more of this kind of work in detail with me, then I have my membership where we meet and we do the work through the full moon archetypes, where we learn more about the soul and how the soul and personality can work together, where we step more into our God instinct and open up more of our powers. And I have an advanced membership where we do some more work, where we then start working with the grids and starting to weave our soul essence into our everyday life. So I think that's it for now. I'm going to go and join people on Zoom where we get to chat now about this reading. So you guys get your questions ready so we can answer those. But hopefully you'll all have a very allowing, surrendering month. So if anybody wants to share now what they think of about allowing or surrendering, that would be quite a nice way to end today. So we've had things like stop trying to force it, more fulfilling, more powerful, lighthearted, relief. When I tuned into this reading, I kind of cried because it was that relief of, oh, I've been trying too hard. It's like I think I'm not doing enough, but I've actually been doing plenty. And that, like, sometimes I have to share messages with you guys on this monthly readings when I haven't fully understood it myself, but I know sharing it helps you guys get ahead of the game as well. And I always feel kind of a bit guilty that I haven't got exactly the right words, but I know in a month's time then I'll understand it and I'll share it again. And it's just allowing that actually is a process. And like the buttercup, it is the process that's meant to happen. So I think that's going to be everything for today. I'll see you all next month for the May energies, and we're moving into a Scorpio season of the full moon. So we're going to get a lot more shadows coming up. And it's important to know then that Pluto is all about Scorpio. You know, Pluto is the sign for Scorpio. And when Pluto moved into Aquarius, its aim was to shine its spotlight on anything that was fake, not real, that wasn't operating in the highest good. So we can still expect 2024 to be a little bit, it's a good, it's that breaking down for the good purpose so something new can grow. But it can feel, if you're not ready to surrender and to flow with that breaking down process, you're going to be a bit more resistant. You're going to struggle more than you might normally. It's because these things now are coming up to be dealt with now. You can't put them off anymore, and it's going to feel like you're being punished, but that's only because you're not allowing it and surrendering to the process. So yeah, trusting is going to be okay and going with the flow. It's hard, but that's what we're going to try and create energetically, and then take the appropriate action to try and make it our reality. Excellent. Thank you, guys. So on that note, I will leave you and go and join the discussion on Zoom. So I'll see you all next month. Thanks, Judy. Bye.